Good day and welcome to the next edition of Bimsync webinars brought to you by Catenda, makers of Bimsync. Today's topic is about PCF issues, the management of PCF issues on Bimsync. As you see, today's official title is Simplify Your Issue Management Workflows with Bimsync. The emphasis is here obviously on simplify. Today's webinar will take about 25 minutes, give and take. My name is Benjamin Ajiman, and I will be your speaker today. In addition to my role by Catenda as a technical consultant, I also work as the assistant head of digital practice in a big architecture firm here in Germany. Bimsync, as many of you already know, is a cloud-based CDE platform with a lot of BIM functionalities. Bimsync was developed by Catenda, a Norwegian software company which sprung up about 10 years ago from a research group, if you guys know Syntef. So since then, Catenda has been creating innovative software solutions for the building industry. Before we dive into this demo, let's just have a look at the agenda for today. So today you will see how Bimsync uses issue boards, group issues together, also to have an access control who could upload which issues and also see which issues. We are going to get to know the milestones and the label functionalities where you could use it for deadlines and also summarizing issues together. You will also see the workflow for BCF issues for 3D models. We will see how we can use the same issues to create task lists and also document meetings as minutes. We will see how we could add documents to issues. We will also see just the simple function of exporting BCF files and importing BCF files. And we will roughly touch base on the connectivity to other software like Solibri, Revit, Navisworks, and so on and so forth. And also, we will kind of scratch the top of the workflow for BCF issues for documents. Why I said scratch the top, there's going to be a special webinar for this where we will explain the whole workflow in detail. But so today I will just be kind of skimming off the top, showing you the very simple basics, how that works. So now here we are in the Bimsync interface. As you see here, I have the list of my projects. I will go to our webinar project for English. And the first thing we see is the dashboard where we have the current status of the project, looking at the issues, the models, and so on and so forth. You heard me probably talk about the magical triangle that Bimsync covers. And this triangle consists of the documents. So here you have your CDE with your folder structure with rights control, access control, obviously. Here you have your PDF documents. It could be other documents. It could be doc files, Excel files, or other types of files. And these are viewable. For example, here we see the PDF file and we could zoom in, and maybe later I will touch on creating issues based on markups for the documents. And then we have the models on the other side. This is pretty simple, so let me just turn on these 4 models. So here I have my IFC models where I could view, cut, and view the alphanumeric information on these elements. And then we have the issues, the BCF issues on the other hand. And these 3 points of the triangle, we call it triangle because they are connected to each other bidirectionally. And with the connection, I mean I'm able to link documents to issues, I'm able to link documents to elements in the model, and obviously I'm also able to link elements in the model to issues and the other way around. So today we are focusing on the issue side of things, how to manage my issues in a project using Bimsync. So we will be looking at it more from a BIM collaboration platform point of view. Nevertheless, touching base with the CDE side of things, where we connect to the models, connect to the documents, and so on. So first, with the issues, I want to touch on something called the issue boards. In Bimsync, there's something called issue boards, and these issue boards are a way to kind of group your issues together, issues that comes from particular clash detections, issues that comes from particular disciplines or particular combinations of different disciplines could be placed on issue boards. So, for example, let's say we have a project, and in this project we have defined different types of clash detections. One of them being maybe a clash detection between architectural models, MAP models, and also structural models. I could go and say, okay, let me create an issue board that collects all of these issues that are resulting from this clash detection, and we call it webinar test arc MEP and structure, and we could put a description for it. You don't have to, and we say add. So now what we have done, we have created an issue board. This will be seen when you connect to Bimsync from other softwares, for example, Solibri, Revit, Navisworks, and so on and so forth. You'll be able to pick this issue board and upload issues onto this. What you could also do here is, here we see there's only two statuses available, and they are called, one is called open and one is called close. We could add and say, okay, in my project I have in progress. I could give it a color. Let's say in progress is yellow. I could say there's also on hold. I could give on hold also a color. And here I could define as much statuses as I want to have. And obviously I could also say, okay, I don't have open, only have active, and save. And I can move them up and down based on the order I want to have them. The same thing also applies for the types, the issue types. I could say either add, or I say no, there's nothing as error. We call it clash, give it a color. I could say, okay, for me, I want to add one which is called request for information, and this is, let's say, green, and so forth. The thing is, everything that I create here is based on the BCF standard, so everything that I create here will also be seen in all other programs that are able to read BCF files. What I can also do for this issue board is have an access control. So I could say, for example, all others have no access to this issue board, and I only want the architect to be able to have full access. I want the client, or maybe I don't want the client to have access at all. So let's take the client out. I want the developer to have write access. I want maybe the structure engineer, obviously, to have full access, and I want the MAP guy also to have full access. So then I say save. Yes. So what happens now is only the parties or the disciplines that I have given access can see this issue board and upload issues to this issue board. And this is important because sometimes you don't want everybody in the project seeing issue boards or seeing particular issues that may not concern them. So this, you kind of summarize the issue management, kind of more focused on the parties involved. And now we move on to the next topic, which is milestones. Milestones is a way to create deadlines and attach these deadlines to issues. So I prepared this, for example, test plan and submission, part 1. We could, for example, also say good, we have a second one. This is called test planning submission part 2. The due date, we could pick something in the future, the 11th of August, and say okay, and say create. So we have these two milestones. This we will come to later when we with the issues, but here you can see once I have a milestone attached to an issue, I'm able to have a summary of how many milestones, how many issues are attached to a milestone, how many of these are open, how many are closed, and so on and so forth. The next thing is the labels. So the labels, I could use labels on issues. I use labels myself to kind of categorize issues. For example, if I have different clash detections going on for different parts of the building. For example, I have section 1, section 2, section 3, and I want these issues of these sections, or let's call them zones, to be together. What I do then is I put a label on them, and then later I could use this label to sort them. The same thing also applies for documents, but for documents we won't be going into that today. So creating a label is very simple. I go here and I say, for example, zone 1. I could have give it a group, but for example purposes I will just leave it as that. I will give it a color, for example, and we say add. So I have zone 1. Zone 1 already exists, so we call it zone 2. So I have zone 1 and zone 2, and later when we add issues to this zones or these labels, we will be able to see the summary listed here. And now we move on to the fun part, which is the PCF workflow for 3D models. So let's go to the issues. Here we will go to an issue board that I created. IM means issue management, and here you see there's 3 issues here. So these issues that I have here could be synced to, let's say, Solibri, Navisworks, or Revit, or other software. The sync actually happens automatically once I have the plugin or the connectivity to this software. So let's just imagine I sync my software and I got these issues uploaded onto Bimsync. There's another way to do this. If let's say for some reason the connectivity is not there or it hasn't been created as yet, I have the chance also to import PCF files. So let's just browse. Let's just go to desktop. I think I prepared something here, and we say open, and then it asks me which issue board I want to use. Here I see all the other issue boards. Here you could also generate new types and statuses based on the PCF file, but we won't do that today. So I import it, and now we have these PCF issues here imported. So here Bimsync tells me all fields could not be linked automatically because the translation wasn't there, but it's still no problem, right? And see some other issues here, and then we go to link. So now what Bimsync is asking us to do is Bimsync didn't find the status error here, so he just wants us to map the status error to a current status that is there, which we will say clash, save, and that's done. So now when we go back to our issues, we don't have any more problems, and the issues are here. So I just imported these issues, Just as an example, I will also do the same for exporting these issues. You have different functions to export issues. You could do it back to a PCF file. Let's say we want to export the whole issue board. Then we see here all the issues have been exported, and I could download these issues and have them in a PCF file, and these could be used in other software. Good. Let's go back now to these issues. I could also export these issues as an Excel file, where I have done in an Excel sheet then the respective issue. Right, so now that I have these issues here, for example, this one here, I have this picto where I can't really do much with, but I also have the chance to go and view this viewpoint in my model, add comments, and so on and so forth. So at the beginning, we did some setting up. So we set up with, if you could remember, the issue boards which we are using now. We set up the milestones and the labels. So let's just use these milestones and labels that we created. So for example, I would just, a little bit lazy, so let me just say we click on all of these 12 issues, and we set the milestone planning submission 2, and we say save. What happens automatically is now we see each of these issues gets a due date based on the milestone. What we could also do is we pick a couple of these and say we want to give it a label. We had the label, we created the label zone 1 and zone 2. So we give zone 1 to this first few, and we go and we say these ones here are zone 2. No, not move issue board. We can also move the issues from one issue board to the next, but we don't want to do that. So we say this is zone 2, we save it, and then we see that the label zone 2 is now attached to these. So to make things a little bit interesting, we're just gonna play around with these issues a little bit. For example, let's just change the status here from in progress to, from open to approved. Go back to the issue board. We do it for a couple so that we just see what happens with the labels and the milestones. Right, so we just did it for a couple. If we go back to the milestones now, we will see that our planning submission 2, what we just picked, now has 12 issues. 10 of these are open and the other 2 are closed. If we go to our labels, we will also see zone 1. If I do this in alphabetical order, zone 1 and zone 2 have issues that we just assigned, and zone 1 has 4 open issues and 1 closed, and zone 2 has 6 open issues. So that is the bi-directional connectivity between the issues and the labels. So we could use this to have a summary. And this helps me personally to keep an overview of all the issues that are happening, which issues are open in which zone, and so on and so forth. So the issues that we imported or we have on our issue board, we could also add documents to these issues. So for example, here I have the opportunity to say I want to add documents to these issues for whatever reason. I could go and say, for example, this floor plan has to be linked to this document, and now this document is now linked to this issue, and I could also link more documents and so on and so forth. And as we just saw, if I go on this play button, I am in the model and I can view this issue. But sometimes I may need to have a 2D localization of this issue, or a 2D location of this issue. So what I then do is I go and I open my 2D view. I say, okay, we're on the second floor, and I know that we are in this entry foyer, so I have the chance now to add a marker to this issue. So when I say add a marker, I could then go here and assign the current marker that I have created in my 2D plan generated from the ISC file to this issue. So now this issue has a marker, which is here. So in case I, let's say, lost, or I could use the marker to get back to the issue, which is the marker is actually connected to the issue. So, for example, if I go on a different issue, let's just go to this one here and say, show me this. Right, so as you see, we're in a different issue, but we have our marker here for the previous issue on our 2D plan. If I click on this, I see this issue appear, and then I could say play, and then I get directly this viewpoint, and I could turn on other models as I please. What I could also do is use one of these functionalities to create an issue on Bimsync. So I will just use here the cropping tool and crop something here in my 2D plan, crop region, and now I have this cropped area. I could obviously adjust the section planes here, but just to be quick, we would just use what we have here, close this off, and say new issue. This new issue is called webinar test, and I could assign this issue, I could add a marker as we did before, and so on and so forth. So here I could assign someone to this issue. I will just submit the issue so that we have the issue. So let's just turn off the 3D view and go to the issue list, and here I could filter issues at the top, so everything that I type in I could filter. Here's also a filter, more like a personal filter. I could filter issues assigned to me, requested by me, created by me, issues where I'm mentioned. I could filter, open, close, and so on and so forth. So now if we just go back to this issue, I could go and change the status of this issue to resolve, for example. I could add a comment, test, comment, submit, and this could be seen in all the other softwares that are connected to Bimsync. So now we're going to view a couple other possibilities we have with the issues. For example, here I've created an issue board called tasks and minutes. What I said before, I could create tasks using the same issue system. For example, here I have created an agenda for a coordination meeting, and this agenda have parties mentioned in it. They are mentioned dynamically. So actually when I mention the architect, the structural engineer, the mechanical engineer, and so on and so forth, they actually get a notification that they are mentioned, and when they sort the issues where they are mentioned, they will see this issue. We have a couple ways to add these formats. Here, if you go on the info button, you see the syntax that you need to enter in order to get these different types of formats, tables, create like a task list and stuff like that, which is really cool. So yeah, so I have an agenda. I can send this out to all required attendees. They will be notified. The next thing I could also do is, if I go back to the issues, when I meeting, the coordination meeting, I could also have minutes, and in these minutes I could write everything that's happening in the meeting, who said what, have like a checklist, and this I could use then in the follow-up meeting to check if the parties actually did their homework. As we see here, there are actually issues linked to this issue, a couple issues that I linked it to this issue, and all the tasks that are here are listed also here at the top. So every single task has a status, which once the task is finished, we will see here the summary. So for example, these issues that are listed here, you could access immediately once you click on it. you end up by the issue. How to add these tasks to the issue, how to add these issues here is very simple. All I do is I go and I use the number sign, and then as soon as I do that, I have access to all issues that are on Bimsync, in my project, and I could add them. So now I can say save description. So now we see the issue that I just added is here. And if I have an issue here added and something happens to this issue, for example, the status is changed, let's say we have it unapproved, and I go back now, we will see that the issue I just clicked on is now set unapproved, and here at the top we see 3 tasks out of 17 are completed. And now to end this off, I mentioned before that we will kind of scrap the top of the document markup because they're going to be an extra webinar for this. But just to give you an idea of what you could do is, for example, we have this PDF plan. I could add revision clouds to this PDF plan. I could annotate, so I could add a text, just type anything in just to be quick. And this I could save as an issue. So I say create issue. We will put it on the issue management issue board, document issue, and I can assign it to someone, and I say submit. So if I say submit, then I have submitted my issue, my markup as an issue, which I have probably assigned to someone, and this could be seen now if we go to the respective issue board, which is I am. So we see this document issue. So that's like just giving you a teaser of what was to come next. And now to end off our webinar, I hope it was very informative for you guys. We just have a quick look at the ecosystem, what connectivity possibilities there are. Generally, Bimsync connects to all of these different platforms and others more. And with an open API philosophy, I would say no connectivity is impossible. We could connect to every other software there is. Just need to maybe do a little bit of programming. Yeah, so everything that I showed before, yeah, it was kind of manual because we just stayed in the Bimsync platform. But if we have the different plugins and the different connectivities, for example, Solibri and to Revit and so on and so forth, that connection happens automatically. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope this was really informative. This can help you simplify your issue management because that was the main goal. And if you have any questions, just contact us. If you have any wishes to use Bimsync or you want to get a demo or something like that, you could contact us. And also the webinars and tutorials are on our YouTube channel, so you could review it anytime you want to. Have a nice day and see you next time. Bye.